Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and Merry Christmas, or Happy Hanukkah, or Happy Holidays, or any of those things to any and all who celebrate whatever it is. Enjoy your days off, enjoy your holiday seasons, enjoy your board games, or your video games, or your books, or movies, or TV, or your families and relationships and friends, and all those things that bring joy and happiness and goodness to your life. And if nothing else, at least there's always coffee. And if you don't drink coffee, I'm trying to work with you. I've done like 17 things at this point. There's got to be something on that list that works for you. But with that said, this is going to be another not to back or not to back, which I realize there's too many knots, but effectively we are in the end of the year with the holiday season and all that stuff. Crowdfunding is mostly dead, which means we are once again not doing a to back or not to back, but instead doing a different video that is still crowdfunding related. And this video, which you may already have seen from the title, is effectively the 15 crowdfunding campaigns delivering in 2024 that I'm most excited about. The title's hopefully shorter than that, hopefully, I don't know, but I didn't want to do the best crowdfunding campaigns of 2023. I started putting that list together, and I wasn't as overwhelmed. There are a lot of campaigns across 2023 that I am excited about, but I didn't have enough that really filled into a top 10 list, and some of that's just me being more restrictive about what I back, what I spend money on, trying to be a bit more conservative about where my money goes, as I find these giant campaign games come in the door, and then end up leaving, months later, because I tried them, and there's too much needing my time and attention. 2023 was definitely a year of cutting back on board games for me. Make no mistake, I'm playing a ton, just backing and spending a little bit less. But what I'm excited about are a whole bunch of other games that I have backed over the years. And so to that end, this list are the 15 games that I am the most excited about that are showing up in 2024. Asterisk, hopefully, probably, maybe, who really knows. And I will say from these 15 games, 12 of them I've backed. 3 of them I have not, but I'm still excited for them to arrive. I'll pick them up at retail or find a way to get a copy. I'm still excited about them, even though I didn't back them. I'm going to start off over here with Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising. This is a good time to start that, to say that my excitement level, these are ranked from least excited to most excited, and to some extent my excitement level is based around a variety of factors, including how much I actually like the game if I had a chance to play it. Many of these are prototypes that I did have a chance to play. Sometimes there's just general excitement about the game, the theme, whatever it is. Sometimes games are getting dinged for how late they are and how my excitement has waned, and Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising should be higher on the list, but it has been a long time. My excitement about the original game has certainly gone down a notch as I just wait for it again and again and again, but I am still excited. It's still high enough for me that it is here on this list. I think Kingdom Rush is probably my favorite game from Lucky Duck. I'd have to go through all the titles and see, but it's definitely one of my favorite games from Lucky Duck. And Elemental Uprising was giving you a storage box for your entire collection. It was bringing you new content, new stuff, new everything to the game, streamlining to some extent. So overall, Elemental Uprising continues the Kingdom Rush board game, the tower defense puzzle of placing little towers onto your board as hordes of little guys march towards you, as you face off and fight them with polyomino pieces. I was a huge fan of Kingdom Rush, am a huge fan of Kingdom Rush. I want more content. I made the mistake of holding off for this game because I was like, hey, I'll stop playing my Kingdom Rush. I'm like, I don't know, 8 or 9 scenarios in or something like that. I don't know. I never finished the full initial campaign, but I got a decent amount of way through it. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just wait, because the biggest pain I have with this game is the setup and teardown, just the way the giant box works, especially if you're trying to condense things. It ends up being a mess. And so that giant storage box that was coming in the next campaign, I was like, I'm excited for that. And that was way too long ago. So I am very excited about this game. I am hoping that when it shows up, I'll dive back into Kingdom Rush and continue to enjoy the system that I had a lot of fun with. But this is going to be my number 15, delivering in 2024. Hopefully. I'll probably say that for the last time, except maybe I shouldn't say that for the last time, because the next one we have is Primal the Awakening. Now, Primal the Awakening was my most anticipated crowdfunding game for a long time. If you watched my video last year of anticipated crowdfunding campaigns, Primal the Awakening is number 1 in that spot, and it should be number 1 here, except for the fact that it was in last year's video. It was in last year's video for my most anticipated. And here we are as far as, still waiting on it. And so I am both excited about Primal, but it's hard to have that same level of excitement when a year later you are echoing that same sentiment about how excited you are for it to finally show up. Monster Hunter World, which launched after Primal the Awakening, which launched after, has delivered and already had a next crowdfunding campaign, which may well deliver before Primal. Hopefully not. I'm hoping that Iceborne does not deliver before Primal. I'm hoping that Primal does show up soon. But Primal is one of my favorite prototypes I've ever played. A game I loved. It's monster hunting goodness, great sculpts, great miniatures, great monster AI. It was a boss battle that I can get behind. This is one of my most anticipated games. This would be higher on the list 100%. The fact that it's still on the list is giving it credit to an extent, but it's just, I'm excited for this game. I want to play this game. I had so much fun with this game, but you have to maintain and hold on to that excitement for 2.5 years, which is a little bit harder. So this is both a vent about the timeline, but also I'm still excited for it. I still want all these monsters. I still want all these classes. I still want to go through the campaign and build out my armor and take down more monsters and get more powerful, more stronger, and figure out the, the larger and more dangerous beasts that I can take on. There were tons of equipment, tons of items, tons of characters, tons of everything. This is clearly based on Monster Hunter World and turned it into a board game. And for me, I like Monster Hunter World a lot, but I like Primal more. The only difference is I could play Monster Hunter World, I can't play Primal, which is a different conversation, but this one is still my number 14. That's going to be Primal the Awakening from Reggie Games. Very excited, very much looking forward to this one. Then we have 7th Citadel. Same conversation, same kinds of conversations around over here. 7th Citadel over here. And this is interesting because, in a weird way, I still want Primal more. I think part of the dip on Primal being 14 this year is because of how excited I was that the continuation of the fact that it's not here hurts more, even though 7th Citadel is in the same position as far as how long it's been out there, how long I've been waiting for this game. But 7th Citadel continues 7th Continent, and for me it did 7th Continent better for the most part. It was a drop more fiddly, which has me uncertain about it. A frequent comparison I'd give is something like Kingdom Builder versus Winter Kingdom. Kingdom Builder I thought was streamlined, and Winter Kingdom I thought was a better game. Ultimately I ended up going back to Kingdom Builder because I found it was easier to table with new players, and Winter Kingdom didn't find play quite as much, even though I think it's a better experience. And I am worried about that with 7th Citadel. Because I think 7th Citadel, it brought me much more into the shoes of the character I was playing as. I felt like there's an actual story. I felt like there's an actual character. In 7th Continent, the game this is based on, the system that's based on 7th Continent, I felt like the general sense of exploring the world around you. But I didn't have that nitty-gritty in-the-woods feel of controlling a character and going through a journey and a destination. I just kind of felt like I'm exploring the world. Whereas the 7th Citadel brought it much more closer to home, and I like that sense. You're wandering down a hallway, you make a choice, you encounter a character, you have a dialogue system and interaction. It built upon the framework the 7th Continent did well, and to me it did it better, again with some caveats around fiddliness, at least in the prototype. But I am very much looking forward to this one. It should be delivering in 2024. I'm optimistic. We have a whole year for me to be wrong, and that's going to be 7th Citadel from Serious Pulp. Coming at number 12, we have Marvel United Multiverse from Come On Games. I don't know how much there is to really say about this game. There's more Marvel United. That's ultimately the premise here. We have more Marvel United within a system that has way too much Marvel United content, in a system that already I think will... I'm already scared for the fact that I think there'll probably be a DC United, maybe there'll be a Star Wars United, maybe there'll be a Harry Potter United. I think there will be more United content because it's a game that has continued to raise millions of dollars, has done well, it's done well at retail, it's done well at crowdfunding. I think this will continue to have more and more for the game, and I hate myself, but I'll probably get it all. Because it's so easy to play through, and my kids love the characters. My kids love playing through the experience. It's a guilty pleasure game. It's a guilty pleasure game that I'm spending way more money on it than I should, given the weight of the game, given how much of game experience I'm getting out of it. And yet it's a game that I've played 40, 50 times, if not more. I've played this a lot of times. I've enjoyed the experience. I've had a chance to dive into tons of characters and have so much fun with the system, despite how light and accessible it is. I've played this probably as much with my adult friends or even solo compared to playing with my kids. It's just a good system that is great when you don't want too much. You don't want to overthink it. And so this one is showing up. Is there more gameplay here? Yeah, there's more gameplay. There's more characters. There's dinosaurs. There's fun things. Look at that. Look at stature over here. We have so many characters here that are going to add to these sculpts and miniatures and fun of it all. But do you need any of it? No, but there's a fun little campaign system that they have mixed in. The campaign has me very excited and intrigued, the way you can mix and match and have different arcs of playing through characters. It's something that, playing through some of the arcs that you have in the variants, playing through, the Phoenix 5. Was it the Phoenix 5? I think it's the Phoenix 5. Playing against, Ultron on a series of 4 games. These are all gameplays I've done on the channel and had fun going through them, had fun going through an arc of 4, 5, 6 games in a row, enjoying all the experience there is to offer here. Marvel United is absolutely a guilty pleasure. There's no question whatsoever. It is a guilty pleasure game. It is almost certainly not worth the amount of money you're spending on it. I would always caution you to get less than more, and I will always not listen to myself and ultimately go on all in this. And unlike Zombicide, a system that I'm a huge fan of, Zombicide I find I only have time for so much. I've mixed and matched, I've gotten rid of stuff. This to me, at some point I'll probably get rid of Marvel United content. And when that day comes, then I'll probably back a little less to and be more selective. Maybe, who knows, I don't know, we'll find out. But for me, Marvel United over here, still excited about this one, even though you don't need to be. Honestly, if you're looking for a good entry into Marvel United, the Spider one, what's it called? Spider-Geddon? Spider-Geddon was a good entry point base set that I felt gave you the complexity to be able to see what the system can do without having to spend hundreds of dollars to get there. So if you played base Marvel United and it wasn't for you, I do think there's more there in the system that you may not have seen. But if you try Spider-Geddon, I do think that's a good representation and a good way to try and see if this game is for you. Coming at number 11, we have Dead Cells, the roguelite board game from Scorpion Mask. I love roguelite systems. I love roguelite video games. I constantly play through them, and I loved Slay the Spire, the board game as well, and so I'm excited for this one without having actually played this one. But it looks cool, the game looks cool, the art looks cool. Scorpion Mask is an established publisher. Everything about this, I should go ahead and buy Dead Cells on the computer. I haven't played Dead Cells on the PC yet. I have not, for whatever reason I haven't done so, but I should. There's so much here that looks like a fun system, and I've heard good things from people who've previewed the game, from people who cover the game, and that only adds to my excitement and to whether or not this might be a game for me. It's a roguelite. You're going through, you unlock stuff, you power up, you continue, repeat, rehash, continue going through it. It has that Slay the Spire aspect to it as far as the system that it's built on. Overall, it did look like it had a decent amount of similarities to Slay the Spire, while being very much being its own beast in the system, in the roguelite board game universe. This is Dead Cells. I'm very excited for it. I have not had a chance to play this one, but I am very excited for it. This is going to be my number 11. My number 10 is another one that I've not had a chance of playing. That's Ezra Nehemiah from Shem Phillips from Garfield Games. Ezra Nehemiah is, well, for me, I've talked about this before and covering this on crowdfunding, but part of my excitement for this is biased around the theme. I find there's not a lot of, religious Bible-themed games that are that good. There's many out there, but they're usually not that good. Golem's going to be a very notorious exception to that, of being, for me at least, an excellent game that I really enjoyed, while being religiously themed in a way that does resonate with me personally. And Ezra Nehemiah, coming from Garfield Games, an established publisher who have put out tremendous games. They have not all worked for me, but they've all been solid games. And after Wayfarers and S.T.A.L.K.E.R, which for me has been so far my personal favorite, they put out some good games. And so I'm excited for Ezra Nehemiah. I've heard good things from the people who've covered it. It does have that Garfield Games intricacy, so will it be a game that works for me? I don't know. It could go either way. But I'm certainly excited to try and find out. My number 9 is going to be S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game from Awakened Realms. And the only reason this is lower is because, well, lower is relative. This is not that low. But the only reason this is lower down the list is because as much as I enjoyed the gameplay, one of the factors that does go into where I rank different things on this list is how likely I am to be playing that experience and to properly engage with that experience. So the bigger box, more campaign games, I have to like you that much more to put you that much higher on this list. I do have that concern of okay, great, you're amazing, you're incredible, but will I actually play you? Now, S.T.A.L.K.E.R is a campaign game. It does have one-shot modes, but it is a campaign game, but it's a campaign game that plays out in 8 to 12-hour arcs, so it's much more accessible, which means it doesn't have that overwhelming tainted grail, hundreds of hours of content for you to wade through and see if it's a game system for you. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is simply a game that, you'll be going through a few scenarios, a few missions, a bunch of linked campaign games, linked episodes, and the overall gameplay arc was very satisfying. They only had 2 missions in the prototype that we had access to, but I've played through both those. I've played through the first mission like 8 or 9 times, so I've demoed the game multiple times at multiple conventions as well, and it's really well done. That's the core thing for me. They managed to be different in the skirmish world while still maintaining stealth aspects, while still maintaining noise mechanics, while still maintaining a degree of skirmish and dungeon crawling aspects, while having a ton of things that made it different, but not different at the cost of being good, different and good at the same time. Sometimes people try too hard to be different that they end up falling too outside the pattern of what actually makes a good game, and they managed to avoid that trap with how they built this one. And so S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game from Awakened Realms, I have no affiliation to the IP whatsoever. Well, speaking of affiliation, I do work for GameFound, take that into account. Awakened Realms does have shared ownership with GameFound, take that into account as we go through this, but I have no affinity or whatnot for the video game itself, never played it, but S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the board game, very excited for this one. Coming in at number 8, we have, I think, number 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, number 8, we have the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, and again, this one it's hard to know, like, the way I rank this, honestly, even looking at my number 7, you know what? We're going to rearrange one small thing over here. My number 8 is Elden Ring, the board game. I can justify my other choices, but I think Elden Ring is I'm less excited for Elden Ring than I am the Elder Scrolls. So we're going to go to number 8, Elden Ring, the board game from Steamforged Games. This was a fun experience from Steamforged that I really enjoyed. And again, caveat that I only played a single scenario of this game. I played the initial exploration mode, and then I played through the actual boss fights or whatnot in the game, which means you only got to see so much experience. I got to see exploration, I got to see basic combat, I got to see a boss fight. What I did get to see was mostly rewarding. I say mostly because I thought the exploration mode was okay, it was fine, it didn't do anything for me, it's just a fun, okay, great, you move around, you gather some things, you're prepping yourself, you have occasional combats, but then the boss fights, or even just the combats in general, were very rewarding. They were a lot of fun to go through. They were a lot of fun to engage, to play out your cards, to try to tackle these monsters. They had a combat system that was surprisingly fun, much more fun than I would have thought, even just based on the way they're describing it. They had a press conference, they're talking about it, I was like, this doesn't look interesting at all. But actually playing through it did feel like there's a rewarding sense of how to play out your character. And that's before you even get into the way you can build out and develop your own characters, because this game does have that too. I was playing with prefabricated, whatever they had for the demo, and it still was fun to go ahead and execute on the decision space. Now again, I do need to play it more. One session does not a review make. I say that all the time when I have a chance to demo a game as opposed to properly reviewing a game. So I'm excited and intrigued and all those things, but I do need to play this game more to lock in that opinion. And it does have a campaign aspect, which is one of the factors as to where it is and where it could be, but I had a lot of fun with Elden Ring. As of right now, Resident Evil the board game is my favorite Steam Forge game title, but Elden Ring I think has the potential to rival or be there. I just need to play it more to actually find out. My number 7 is going to the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. This one again should be higher in the list, but again the amount of content there could be here. I find that chip theory games, I love them to depth, but they do not get tabled as much as many other game systems do. The Elder Scrolls is going to have DNA with too many bones. It's going to build off some core aspects of the systems while still being very much its own different beast and entity. I'd say compared to like Massive Darkness and Zombicide. Some share DNA, but very much different systems at the same time. And the Elder Scrolls is just, it's a good game. It has tons of characters, tons of ways to build your character. You're wandering across, terrain, going on these delves, based off the whole Elder Scrolls video game and all that stuff, but it was just a good game of powers and abilities, of taking away the complexity of too many bones. Some of the reward of too many bones is gone as well. Like, there's nothing quite like building out the character depth that exists in too many bones. This had less of that, but this had more variety, more of a way you could build out your skill trees while having less intrinsic depth for the nuance and unique ways that a character can operate. So a good and bad exchange on this, and again, one of the reasons why there's justification to own both of these systems. But Elder Scrolls has been a fun time when I played it, and I know they have continuously iterated on the prototype since then, time and time again. People have played this game, I know people have played this game in like earlier phases and later phases, and they've talked about how much has changed and how much has improved in the game system from it. But that's going to be the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. Very excited for this one to arrive. And again, I think a 2024 title. The caveat with all these is, all of these should be arriving in 2024, but ultimately time will tell. Number 6 we have, I believe, Unconscious Mind from Fantasia Games. And this is one of those complicated aspects where I arguably think that Elder Scrolls to me is a better game system that I like more, but Unconscious Mind is more likely to hit the table being a single-shot Euro with no degrees of tons of stuff to manage and be mindful of, but this was a very rewarding game. Unconscious Mind to me, like, I love Endless Winter. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it's a great experience from Fantasia Games, and it's what put them on the radar in general. But I think Unconscious Mind is better, or at least it was for me, as far as the intricate Euro experience going on here, the way you're building up a tableau. For me, I've found there's certain things that make me like a game, and 2 things that I like that make me like a game is, one is going to be when you have a game system, but with tons of cards to adjust how you interact with that system. Card-driven experiences where you have a core system, and then tons of things that give you augments, abilities, powers to change it up. Things like expeditions, things like vindication, stuff like that. The other thing that's very present in Unconscious Mind is just whenever you have actions that ding into multiple actions. Hey, I took an action, but it's not one action, it's actually 3 actions. I get this, then this, then this, and I cascade into 3 or 4 different actions, and they're all rewarding in different ways. And to me, Unconscious Mind has that in spades. It has some of the card stuff, not as much more so in the cascading tableau building, the way you can build out your character, your actions, the way you're moving around the board. It was an incredibly rewarding Euro experience that I absolutely had a blast with it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm very much looking forward to, actually getting the final game, which should hopefully be in 2024, but that's going to be Unconscious Mind from Fantasia Games. My number 5 is Arydia, The Paths We Dare Tread, and the fact that it's this high while being a campaign experience should be a testament to how much I enjoyed this game. This game made me like the idea of playing through an RPG. This game had me role-playing. The game has a little trick in the game where as you go through the experience, you can also get like extra small points for role-playing your character, for engaging with the guard and being gruff and all these things. You can get role-playing, you find a meek whatever, and like, please sir, can I have some more? I'm just being Oliver Twist here. But the game is an RPG, but a dungeon crawler, but a tableau builder, but a character builder, but all of these things going on the choose your own adventure aspects of it. This game felt like a video game in all the best ways, but not in a video game where you're like, why don't I just play a video game? But it felt like it captured the magic of a video game in tabletop form while playing to the strengths of a tabletop form. This is coming to you from the creators of Zyre Legend of a Drift System, and Arydia, The Paths We Dare Tread was... I loved going through this prototype. I played it on TTS midway through the campaign because they reached out to me, and I had so much fun. I was like, "Can you get me a copy right away? Like, I want to play this more in person and then cover it." And I did. It was so rewarding and so good to go through, and it is overwhelming. The thing that scares me on this one is just, will I actually table this one? Will I actually play it properly, or will I just leave it on the shelf while I play all the other things passing through and talk about how much I like Arydia? That's also a possibility, which is always a scary thing in these. When your job is board games, it's a little scary trying to balance it all, but I am excited for this one. I'm looking forward to it. That's Arydia, the Path We Dare Tread. My number 3 is going to be Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is an accessible game. This is going to be easy to table. Tearing down is actually a lot more work than setting up. Setting up is you're easy, you're ready to go. When tearing it down, you have to flip some cards, take them out of the sleeves, separate things in different decks, stuff like that. But this captured the magic of Slay the Spire in a tabletop form, and I prefer the tabletop form. I generally prefer playing on the tabletop to playing on a video game. I mean, I like video games too. I like apps. I like all those things, but I like the tactile experience of playing a tabletop experience, and this was a fun tabletop experience that captured the magic of Slay the Spire, the video game. Granted, to anyone who's like, well, it's $100 plus to get the game, yes it is, and you can get the Slay the Spire app for $15, and if you have that question, if you're like, well, why should I get this? My answer to you is you shouldn't. If you have the question, why should I get this instead of the video game, you probably shouldn't. You're not the target audience. This is targeting people who want Slay the Spire specifically in the board game form, who don't have the question of which one should I play. The answer is, of course, why not both? But the cost is a factor, and you have to be mindful of that. And I don't mean that as like a dismissive, like, hey, if you're not going to pay $100, this isn't for you. I mean that there are people... It depends what you want out of an experience. If you're getting everything you need out of the video game, this doesn't do anything for you. You don't need this. You just don't. Granted, you can play it multiplayer, but I think if you're happy with the video game and you don't want a board game version of it, you're fine as is. It's not dismissive. It's genuinely just knowing yourself and knowing what you're looking for in the board game space. People frequently ask, why should I get this when I could have that? And more often than not, if you're spending money, my answer is always don't. Don't spend that money unless you're certain on it. That's true for every game, up to and including Slay the Spire. But I want the board game. I want that tabletop presence. I want to see this played out in different forms, and I'm still going to play the video game. I think the video game's still great. I think they're all fantastic. And so Slay the Spire, very excited for this one. This is easy to table, looking forward to it. That's going to be coming in 2024, hopefully. That's Slay the Spire, the board game. My number 3. Did I skip a number? I don't even know what count. I did set 8 for his Elden Ring, 7 is Elder Scrolls, 6 was Unconscious Mind, 5 is Arydia, 4 was Slay the Spire, 3. My number 3 is Agemonia. Agemonia is a campaign experience. Unlike Arydia, the fact that it's this high does have a concept of where do I think it lies for me. I loved this game. I loved playing through Agemonia. Now again, I played 3 scenarios. That's what they had in the prototype. Will it hold up for 10 scenarios? Different conversations? I don't know. But Agemonia should be delivering soon, and I really enjoyed my experience with this. I thought it was an accessible dungeon crawler. It's almost reminiscent. There's actually another game that almost made it onto this list was Tidal Blaze, Rise of the Enfolders, where it was an accessible dungeon crawler. It was a little easier to dive into. It had a little bit more ability to sit down and play it compared to the complexity of Arydia. Like, I have more doubts as to whether I'll play Arydia, even though arguably Arydia I think was a better experience, and Agemonia to me I think was possibly slightly less amazing than Arydia, but it was so well done and more accessible, and it had combat, it had character building, it had choose your own adventure elements, it had wandering around from location to location and interacting, it had gorgeous artwork, gorgeous presence. This art over here, by the way, this box cover, like, you know, graphic design has also been redone and improved upon, which I think it could have used some improving upon, so they've changed that as well. This is one that I am incredibly excited about. I am excited for it to show up. It's one of my highlights, one of my surprises of 2023 or 2022. I don't remember when I played this at this point, but I had a lot of fun going through this, and it must have been 2022. It must have been 2022. I had a lot of fun going through this, and I'm very excited for when this does show up. I think it is accessible, easy to play, a good experience. I don't know. I'm always skeptical. There's so many games that are calling my attention, and it's easy to play one-shots. It's harder to play campaign games, but I want to make the time for this one. I want this to be my main priority when it shows up, and hopefully it will. I don't know, maybe I'll stream it, maybe I'll film it. I have no idea. I don't know what I'll do. I don't know, but I want to play it at the very least. I want to play Agemonia. I'm looking forward to it. That's my number 3 pick. My number 2 is a one-shot, as is my number 1, by the way. But my number 2 is a one-shot. It's going to be Creature Caravans from Red Raven Games. A game that wasn't on my radar, you know, a month ago, but I played this at PAX Unplugged, and I had well, I should say not on my radar, but barely on my radar. I knew it existed. I had seen the crowdfunding campaign. I'd covered the crowdfunding campaign, but I'd never played the game, and I liked this so much at PAX Unplugged. I had a lot of fun with this one, and the main thing is it played in an hour, and it's simultaneous play. You can play with 5 or 6 players if you get the Kickstarter version. I think the retail is only up to 4 players, but if you get the Kickstarter version, you can go up to, you can have 5 or 6 players playing simultaneously, and going through that experience and getting a good hour-long tableau building engine. To me, this built off of a lot of things that Red Raven does well, but the biggest thing they did best in this game is they took all the things they generally do well, but they condensed it to an hour-long experience. I had so much fun playing through this. And this one, I mentioned earlier, you know, that games that give you a core system and then tons of cards to constantly make every experience unique. This very much had that. It's all about the cards. It's all about the way you combine and build out your tableau and utilize this ability and that ability and do all these things. You start off you only have 12 turns the whole game. And you start off thinking, like, how am I going to get everything done? And then by the time you're done, there's so much room for exploration, for adventure, for getting the items you need, for trying to optimize your tableau. I had a lot of fun with Creature Caravans, and this to me is my number 2 most looking forward to for games delivering in 2024. And my number 1 is going to be Cyclades Legendary Edition. Because I love Cyclades. Cyclades has been a top 20 game for me ever since I first played it, and nothing has changed that. Kemet has fallen a bit. Kemet used to be in my top 20. Kemet, Innocent, Cyclades were all my top 20 for years. Kemet has fallen over the years. Innocent, Cyclades have stayed strong, and if anything, Cyclades has continued to grow. I find the intricacies of Cyclades, the bidding over your mechanisms, the area control, but with powers and abilities, and so many factors to modify how the game plays out, it's such a good experience. And Cyclades Legendary Edition felt like they took the best things about Cyclades, the best things about the expansions, and put them together in a game that just was the best experience. My game group, I played this in my game group because they already love Cyclades, and they have been non-stop asking, when does this show up? When do we get to play the original Cyclades Legendary Edition, not the original, the new Cyclades Legendary Edition, because that was the best experience. It was across the board. Everyone who was already a fan of Cyclades, who had played Legendary Edition, thought it was the best implementation of the Cyclades system. And so I know there's some complaints around the campaign, there's some complaints around the art, and all those things. Like, I'm not here to tell you what this, that, or the other, especially the art. Art's gonna be subjective. I enjoy the art. I like the art of the original Cyclades too, so I'm kind of either one of that one. But as far as the gameplay goes, the gameplay just was the best version of Cyclades, at least for myself, at least for my game group. I thought they did an absolutely fantastic job, and that is why it's my number 1 pick for the games coming in 2024. And so you have my 15 most anticipated 2024 crowdfunding games, regardless of when I back them, but these should hopefully, possibly, really optimistically be showing up in 2024. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and next week we'll be back with more stuff. It may or may not be a 2-back, not to back. I don't know when the series comes back. It comes back as soon as we get, enough crowdfunding campaigns to be covering more than one at a time. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Thanks for being here, and as always, I hope you have a good one. Why are they called Pop-Tarts and not Mom-Tarts? Because of the patriarchy.